let me get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Andrews, and I'm a hypnotist, which is pretty cool because that means I know how to change things on the inside to make things better. And if you're here, that means you probably like it when things get better, and you like it when you get better. And that's what I'm here for too. So if you're watching this, you've probably already had some other things going on today. So the first thing we're going to do is take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and then just let it all go. All right, ready? Hold it for a moment and just let it all go. Excellent. And the next thing we're going to do is that for most of us, our minds have been all kinds of different places all over the place. And so we're just going to bring it all in here so you can focus in now. And what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about momentum and getting more of what you want. Now, it's kind of getting more of what you want is kind of a funny phrase because a lot of times people will say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing and why? Right? What are you doing and why? And when it really comes down to it, aren't you trying to get more of what you want and less of what you don't want? I mean, isn't that really the fundamental thing that we're all trying to do? I mean, it sounds pretty obvious when I say it, but most people don't really seem to live like that's what they're trying to do. So I'm going to talk about that today. And as I talk about that, we're going to do some rewiring of your mind, your brain in real time. So lots of things have been happening in the political world lately. Lots and lots of things. And here's something that I've noticed is that for a long time, everything seemed to be kind of at a standstill, right? You had your people on this side, you had your people on that side, and everybody was just sort of stuck in this holding pattern where neither side could really make that much progress. We were just kind of stuck. But that's changed now, hasn't it? I think that's changed. The Minneapolis situation seems to have flipped. In other words, we had all this situation where these ICE agents were getting resistance. The police weren't helping, and all these protesters that were being organized, um, these organized resistance groups. I mean, the ICE was making progress on deporting the criminals they were after at this stage, but it was different because the public opinion seemed a little iffy. Well, something changed. Something changed. And what I think happened was a combination of things. For number one, my guess is, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but this is my guess that they they got enough evidence on Tim Walz and his administration to make a an unlosable case of leverage against Tim Walz. I'm not talking about necessarily a legal case. I'm talking about a leverage case. And what I mean by that is, and remember, Trump is a negotiator. It's all about leverage. So what he does is he's like, okay, well, Tim, we know we caught you on this stuff. We found your admins, your people in your administration as admins of these protester groups, organizing these protester groups. We got you on all this fraud. We connected you to the Somali daycare fraud stuff. We connected you to all these other things. And one way of saying it is, okay, we're going to build this legal case against you, and you're going to lose the case. Okay, that's harder. What's a lot easier is to apply the pressure psychologically to the person, and that's pain and pleasure. That's what I mean. To the point where it's just a deal he can't refuse. And so I think that's what happened. I think Walz knew that maybe he wouldn't get convicted on all these charges, but no matter what happens, he was going to get screwed. He was going to get screwed, and they had the goods on him. And so that leverage, when you apply that leverage to the problem, you apply that. Okay, here's the pain points. Okay, of what the problem is, and then here's what's going to be good for the things that for the new way of doing things. Right, you apply those leverage pressures, and then things start to shift. Suddenly, the administration gave the order that the Minnesota police were now to assist ICE. They were now going to arrest protesters interfering. Now that's a 180. That's a 180. And then, as I mentioned before, they discovered all the some of the uh, uh, group admins of the protester groups were actually members of Tim Walz's administration, the lieutenant governor, for example. So that's what I think happened. Now, do I think Walz and some of these guys are actually going to be convicted and put in jail? I don't know. I don't know. But I don't think that was the aim of what they were doing. I don't think the aim was to put these people in prison. I think the aim was to get sufficient leverage on them so that the problem goes away. Right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Now, once you understand that concept, you can apply it in a lot of different areas. So, I teach a class on. I do a hypnosis training about once a year, and we had the final class last night, and one of the people there, her name is Serena. She's my associate. She actually does sessions, right? Because my rates are not affordable to everybody, and she'll actually she'll do sessions too for people, and she can do a lot of stuff that I can do at a more accessible price point. So I had her in the training with me to help train other people, and she told me a story. And she told this story. She said she's got a friend who is a PhD psychologist, and this friend of hers wanted to quit drinking. And so Serena recommended one of the recorded tracks that I had made. Now it's 10 minutes of me um, basically overloading the mind with effectively worded suggestions. And it's a 10-minute track, and it's about quitting drinking. Right. So she recommended that track to her friend. And her friend um, got it and started listening to it and came back to Serena a few days later. And you know what she said? She said, "That's scary because it's too persuasive." Right, now, this is a psychologist saying that. And I'm thinking, as a psychologist, shouldn't a psychologist want to be as persuasive as possible to get a change in somebody else's behavior? Right? Isn't that their job? And so it kind of confused me a little bit. I mean, nothing against psychologists. They're a lot of times they're smart people, and they care, right? They really want to help people. I just think they have a lot of ineffective protocols. But anyway, I heard this. So she kept listening to it, but it really bothered her that it was so effective. And I thought, okay, I don't think that's the ideal way to approach problem solving. Is it? Because one of my favorite sayings now is that you can just do things. And if you can remove a problem in your own mind, or somebody else's mind, even if that's your job or that's what you're aiming to do, you can do that. Right? You really can do that. And yes, there's going to be some disruption going on. Right? I mean, I don't think anybody's looking at the Minneapolis situation and go, "Oh, wow, that's going so smoothly." Okay? But in order to get some change, you have to go through at least some disruption, don't you? Because disruption is just an amount of change that has crossed some arbitrary threshold. right? Of being able to handle it. So that's just sort of all the same thing in the sense when you really think about it. So, and I'm thinking, okay, so what is it that you really want to do here? Well, I think what you really want to do is apply more leverage, apply more pain to keeping the problem, and good feelings to doing a new way of thinking about it and feeling about it. And so you can just do that, right? Applying the pressure to Waltz and his administration, and then suddenly things do a 180. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to apply the pressure. If you're not going to do that, then why? What are you trying to do? I mean, the standard way that people in psychology programs, psychology academic programs are taught to do is that they have to get everybody, they have to just give the people the information and then the people will change on their own. And we know that that doesn't happen, does it? Because understanding a problem and solving a problem are two completely different things. And what you need to do to solve the problem is to apply that pressure and leverage it out. Leverage it out. And then you can continue. So I'm going to keep tabs on what happens with her friend. And if there's any more developments, I'll update you on it. But I think the story is going to end with her friend is going to reach a level of drinking that she's happy with, right? Whether that's zero or maybe some a little bit. But in the end, I think that's where she's going to end up. And I'm going to keep talking about that in the future as needed. So, what does this have to do with momentum? Well, if you have a situation where you're stuck and you apply the right leverage to lever out the problem, then what happens? You get momentum and things start moving. And then what happens when you get momentum? When you get momentum going, it's less pushing and a little more steering, right? Do you understand what I mean by that? You understand the difference between those two, right? It's the difference between accelerating and then guiding where the car is going. So once you get that momentum going, it starts to feel better because you're not expending as much energy to get moving. Right? Now, this is a mistake a lot of people make. Once they remove the problem, they remove the barrier, they remove the blockage, and then they kind of just stand there going, now what do I do? Now, the right way to do it is to move forward. Allow that momentum to develop. Allow that progress to flow. Now, you don't want it to get out of control, right? You don't want to, too much momentum and you have trouble steering and you might crash into something. But no, you get the right amount of momentum and then the right amount of steering. And you can move forward in your life much, much more effectively, can't you? So that's something that I really appreciate about the way that the Trump administration is handling the Minneapolis situation. I think he's doing it just right. I think that's the way to go. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be upset because there's not going to be a line of all these fraudsters, political fraudsters in jail. I don't think very many of them are even going to be in jail. But that's not what he's trying to do, is he? He's not putting people in prison. He's getting a leverage over them so he can get what he wants, so he can get more of what he wants. And as I said, isn't that what we're all doing? Aren't we all trying to get more of what we want and less of what we don't want? I mean, I'm not wrong about that, am I? That's what everybody's trying to do, right? I mean, I guess you got some people who are enlightened who are not necessarily trying to get more of what they want and less of what they don't want because you've reached this kind of equanimity of positioning in your life and just everything is, you're at one with everything. So you're not pushed or pulled by anything. And I understand that's like a great place to be, nice and enlightened. I think for most people, it's about getting more of what you want and less of what you don't want. So So thanks for being here with me today. I did a lot of stuff under the hood today, so if it seemed like I was rambling, I wasn't. The stories were exactly engineered to do what I wanted them to do. So you might find yourself um, feeling a little bit different today, or maybe tomorrow. Maybe in small ways. I mean, by definition, what I'm doing with hypnosis is that I'm working on your subconscious mind, which is by definition stuff you're not aware of. So you might not even notice anything. But then again, you might notice that things seem a little bit easier to do today. That you're it's not so much the motivation, but it's just things get out of your way so you can flow better. And that's what I'm aiming for. And also to give another idea of understanding about what's happening in Minneapolis. I really think there's going to be a lot of people who are super angry that there's not going to be people in jail, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to jail. I think he's using them to get what he wants. I should say this too. You remember the Epstein guy, right? Who could forget? Some people are like, well, how come we don't have 1,000 elites in jail right now for this? My theory is that that whole operation from the beginning was a blackmail operation. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was some British or Mossad or some form of some globalist elite cabal decided to get all these people blackmailable and turn the West into a blackmailocracy. And I think they did. And my theory is that when he was when he died, um, when he died, that wasn't the end of it. That was that material changing hands. That's my theory. So now things can be changed. So different people can, because a lot of people, if you've noticed after that point, didn't a lot of things start to change? Because it was a different group with different agenda holding all the blackmail material. Anyway, that's my theory. I'm not convinced that that's true. It could just be I'm sure there's a lot of CYA going on over there because there's probably a lot of people on there who are on both sides, and everybody on both sides kind of agrees like let's not talk about this and bury it. But I do think there's some of it where people have been they used to be blackmailed into doing certain things politically, and now they're blackmailed into not doing those things or being silent. That's what I think we're seeing. That's my thought anyway. So yeah, so thanks everyone for being here with me today. If you enjoyed this or found this interesting or useful, feel free to share it with others. Feel free to check out my coaching site, jasonandrews.coach, where you can find other ways to improve your business or life. I can do these every morning. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, we're going to do a Feel Good Friday where we're going to do a more formal trance induction to make you feel happy and good for the rest of the day. Those are always a lot of fun. So I will, thanks everyone, and I'll talk to you tomorrow at 8:30.